Hello friends, and welcome back to the show. In this episode, we'll make some cinnamon knots. It's basically a fancy looking cinnamon bun. But you must admit, they look pretty cool, right? But if you are not into making knots, check out my cinnamon bun video. Click the link in top right corner now. But I must say, these are definitely worth a try. I mean, look at them, they're beautiful. So soft, full of cinnamon and sugar. So let's get on with it. And as always, you'll find all the details with metric and imperial units down in the description box. So let's see what equipment we need. A bowl, temperature probe, a brush, a spatula, scales, we need a dough scraper, and a muffin tin. Now on to the ingredients. Strong white bread flour, some sugar, salt, yeast, milk. We'll need some soft butter for the dough and some soft butter for the filling. Then some sugar, some cinnamon, and an egg. So let's start by making the filling, the cinnamon butter. Just add your sugar and your cinnamon to a bowl, give it a good mix, and then add the butter. And then using your spatula, mix it until it's one even mass. And this is where you can adjust the amount of cinnamon. I like it quite cinnamony, so that's the way I make it. But once it's all mixed up, set it aside, let's make the dough. Get your bowl, add your milk, add the yeast, then add the salt, add the sugar, add your butter, and give it all a good mix. We're basically just mixing to dissolve the yeast, the salt and the sugar. And once that's all mixed up, add the flour. And that's the last ingredient for the dough. So get your scraper and mix it until you don't see any more dry flour. And once it's mixed up, tip it out on your work surface and start kneading it. This dough is a little bit loose and sticky, so what I like to do is use the stretch and fold method to knead it. Pick the dough up by one side, stretch it against the table towards yourself and fold it over, and repeat. And if you'd like to learn more about kneading your dough by hand, click the link in the top right corner. I have a full guide on this. And I would knead this dough for about 5 minutes using this method. And once it starts sticking less, you can continue on with this method, or you can switch it up. If a dough is not very sticky, what I like to do is use the heel of my right hand to press down and forwards, and I use the fingers of my left hand to fold the piece of dough under the heel of my right hand, and repeat. But whatever you do, all in all, the whole kneading process should not take more than 5 to 7 minutes. And once your dough is nice and smooth and not too sticky anymore, we can get in the bowl for its first proof. 25 to 26 degrees Celsius, just about right for this dough. And if you'd like to learn more about controlling dough temperature, click the link in the top right corner now. Other than that, cover your dough and leave it to proof for 45 minutes. After the first 45 minutes, we'll give it a fold. Folding will equalize the temperature in the dough, giving us an even fermentation. Also, it will degas the dough. By folding, we will also create more layers in the gluten structure, making the dough stronger. So to perform a fold, flatten your dough, make sure it's pointing smooth side down, then fold the piece of dough over the middle, going around in a circle until you reach the point where you started and have a nice tight ball. Then tighten it against the table, place it back into the bowl, smooth side pointing up. That's your fold. Now cover it up, leave it to proof for 45 more minutes. You should really see it puffing up now. So a total of an hour and a half of proofing time later, we can shape our cinnamon knots. So as you can see, it doesn't take even that long. It's quite an easy process. So take the dough out of your bowl, place it on a table, get your rolling pin, make sure everything's nicely floured. You don't want any stickage. What I like to do is start off with my hands. Just press the dough out into a general shape. Make sure it's flat. We will roll this into a large rectangle, so basically that's the shape you're going for. And don't worry about getting it perfect. It doesn't really matter. We're baking at home. It'll still taste the same, right? So once you've pressed your dough out, make sure to flour it again, just so it doesn't stick. Then grab your rolling pin and roll it out to a large rectangle. And once you're happy with that, get your cinnamon butter and spread it all over. Make sure you do it gradually. Be gentle, don't press too hard, otherwise you risk tearing a hole in the dough. And once you spread the filling all over, we need to fold the dough. Divide it into thirds. And then fold the bottom third up. Again, do it piece by piece. You can't fold it all at once. And press it down. Make sure it sticks together nicely. And then you grab the top part and fold it right down to the bottom. And this is how we create the layers in the dough. Easy, right? Now, I would recommend sprinkling your dough with a little bit of flour because we need to cut it now and we don't want our scraper or our knife to stick. So get a bit of flour, sprinkle it all over and then rub it in. And don't worry, if you use too much, just brush it off. Now, because I don't want to ruin my table, I'm going to use the dough scraper to cut the dough. We'll make 6 buns out of this. So first cut it in half and then cut each half into 3. And again, don't worry if they are not perfectly evenly sized, that does not matter. They will taste amazing. What I like to do is stretch them out a little bit before cutting them again. Now get your scraper because we need to cut them again. Now we need to make 2 cuts. But don't cut them all the way. They need to be attached right at the top. So this is what we want to see. 3 strands out of each piece of dough, which we need to now take and braid together in a 3-strand braid. I'm sure you all know how to do this, right? By the way, I have a braided sweet loaf recipe on my channel. Click the link in top right corner to watch that. It's called challah. It's a Jewish holiday bread. It's delicious. Well, let's continue on braiding these buns. And you could bake them just like this. They would look awesome. But to turn them into knots, all we need to do is roll them up. Simple as that. Start from the open end and roll towards the closed end. I know, right? These always look so complicated, and turns out all you need to do is braid some buns and then roll them up. Simple as that. Make your knots. Now get your muffin tin and place them in there. Then we can cover them up and leave them for their final proof. Now, if the dough temperature was correct, these should not take more than 45 more minutes of proofing. And during the final proof, make sure to preheat your oven to 160 degrees C with a fan on and watch those babies rise. They are puffed up beautifully. There's one last step we need to take before baking. Brush them with the egg yolk that's been mixed with 1 teaspoon of milk to give them a nice glaze. But be aware that the milk and egg mix might make the buns stick to the tin a little bit. I'll brush them all over, and once you're finished, get them in the oven. They should not take more than 25 minutes or so. I'd recommend placing them in a tray because the cinnamon butter might leak out a little bit. You don't want to mess up your oven. But that's your cinnamon knots. Easy, right? As always, if you have any questions or suggestions, drop them down in comments. If you are not yet subscribed, consider subscribing. I make bread baking videos every Wednesday and Sunday. And I have loads of other delicious bread recipes on my channel. And not just that, I also teach bread baking principles. So if you are into your bread, watch this space. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.